helping shape the future of healthcare. Sometimes we get the opportunity to make a difference. It begins with a desire and decision to have a vision. Our story begins with a humble vision of providing world-class healthcare and making it accessible for all. This was the vision of our founding lady, Dr. Chandramma Dayananda Sagar, the first woman to have been conferred a triple FRCS. Welcome to the next level of medical education and research, a one-of-its-kind, state-of-the-art institute aiming to drive the next wave of healthcare innovations and solutions. Welcome to CD Cymer. If your dream is affordable healthcare and access to all, then it's time to live the dream. Great leaders don't just make a difference to their teams, but to the world around them as well. By creating a focused research center along with molecular laboratories and providing a platform for researchers, we can hope to create the most comprehensive health plans for the people of the country, advancing healthcare as we know it for everyone. We aim not only to cure, but to learn, understand, and prevent healthcare trauma of the future too. For more information, log on to dsu.edu.in or log on to cdcymer.edu.in to know more and to celebrate the true spirit of the field of medicine. Live your dream.
So we are good to go live.
Yes, sir.
Good afternoon to all of you. A warm welcome. Dayananda Sagar University, through its School of Medicine, Dr. Chandramma Dayananda Sagar Institute of Medical Education and Research, Bengaluru, would like to welcome all the students, especially the aspirants for the NEET exams, who in the next 2 days would be writing the exam. A warm welcome to all of you, as well as a warm welcome to all the distinguished speakers for today. I am your host and the moderator for today's function. I am Srinivas Shinde, the Chief Marketing Officer for Dayananda Sagar University. Would like to take the privilege to welcome all the speakers. So here it is. I would like to welcome Dr. K.N.B. Murthy sir. Sir is a professor for computer science engineering and the vice chancellor at Dayananda Sagar University, Bangalore. Sir holds a bachelor's degree in electrical power engineering and a master's degree in electrical engineering from Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore, and a PhD in computer science and engineering from Indian Institute of Technology, Madras. Sir has worked as a research specialist in parallel computing at New Mexico State University, US. Sir is currently a member of the Karnataka State Higher Education Council and the Academic Senate member of IIIT Dharwad. Sir would be touching upon the topic today in terms of setting the context and sharing his views on the prospective and the preparation for the NEET students. A warm welcome to you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Our next speaker for the day is Dr. Prashant Kumar M. Sir is the professor and head of Department of Physiology and also the coordinator for medical education unit at CD Simon. He has about 20 years of teaching experience, both for the UG as well as PG courses in MBBS, BPT, Allied Health Sciences, and nursing. Sir has been the former chairman for the Board of Studies at Rajiv Gandhi University for Health Sciences and now holds the post for the professor and the head of department at Dayanand Sagar University School of Medicine. Sir would be touching upon the topic today, especially for the NEET aspirants, on the pre-examination day preparation, as well as we also would like to have one of our students from the first year, Miss Yukta Devraju, who holds the All India rank of 52,465 with a score of 545, to share her views after Dr. Prashant has spoken. So, warm welcome to Dr. Prashant, and also a warm welcome to our student, Miss Yukta Devraju. Our next speaker for the day would be Dr. Shilpa HD. She's a professor and head of department for biochemistry. She's a mentor coordinator for the first year MBBS and also in charge for biochemistry central diagnostics. She has more than 14 years of academic, teaching, and diagnostic experience, state topper and gold medalist, and has won 5 gold medals from Rajiv Gandhi University of Health Science in MBBS. She would be touching upon the topic approach towards the exams. And along with her, we would also like to introduce one of our students from the first year who would share her experience. We'd like to welcome Ms. Anjali Venkat, who has a ranking of 52,261 and a score of 545. A warm welcome to you, Dr. Shilpa. Our next speaker for the day is Dr. Aishwarya. She's an assistant professor in Department of ENT at CD Simon and around 8+ years of teaching experience. She is committed to maintaining high standards of teaching and guiding her students to excel in their profession. Dr. Aishwarya would be touching upon the topic today in terms of time management. And along with that, we will have an experience sharing done from one of our first year students, Miss Shreya Bijal. She has a ranking of 63,973 and a score of 529. I'd like to welcome Dr. Aishwarya. We would like to move on to the first speaker of the day. Would like to invite Honorable Vice Chancellor, Dr. K.N.B. Murthy, sir, to set the context and share your views. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Shinde. A warm welcome to my co-panelists and also the students and parents who have joined this webinar. I'm extremely happy to share with you that Dayanand Sagar University has been conducting several webinars cum campus info sessions for all programs of study offered in the university. The purpose of these webinars or info sessions to provide inputs to the prospective students so that they can make an informed choice. I'm extremely happy that we are organizing a webinar today to provide tips and guidance for better outcomes in the NEET exam. For that, we have lined up 3 faculty members of highest accomplishments and repute, along with 3 students to share their experience of writing the NEET exam. As you're aware, the NEET exam is the national eligibility and eligibility cum entrance exam. The idea of this exam is to provide admissions to the medical and dental programs in the country. Whenever we talk of the entrance exam, the details will be provided by the experts very soon. As for these exams are concerned, these exams are purely for admission. Whenever there are less number of seats and more number of aspirants, obviously an entrance exam is being conducted, of this type is conducted. The essence of these exams is to pick up 3 or 4 important characteristics or the abilities. I think that will be explained by our experts very soon. One is the speed of answering the questions. The second is the accuracy. The third is to ensure that the, everything is managed in the allocated time. I think it requires tremendous amount of practice. I'm sure each one of you would have done this exercise in a good measure. I'm sure the experts would touch upon the points that I mentioned. Let me talk about 3 important aspects which are critical for all of us to understand about a program of study. The first aspect is the future of work. I'm sure, as known, every work or every domain is going through tremendous change with the technology evolution. The field of medicine is not an exception. Possibly going forward, the every student of every program of study, irrespective of the field of study, they need to have some background in technology, some background of data science. Data science is another field which is evolving now, which has all the components. Even the field of medicine needs a lot of data science to be used going forward because enough tools are being developed in that area. The second, there's tremendous amount of opportunities and the new domains that are evolving, including the field of medicine, where healthcare is one of the top priorities of the world. The of opportunities exist in this domain. The other thing that is to be aspect that needs to be considered is the career path. What career you would like to pursue? I'm sure once you complete your NEET exam, join a medical school, then you need to decide what you're good at, what your skills and abilities move towards. There are multiple specializations that are possible, like the orthopedics, then dermatology, then pediatrics, several others. You decide which one is going to attract or you like most, probably move that to have a specialization, then a super specialization, and try to become a person known in the domain going forward. That's the career path that you need to check it out. This is required from this point onwards. Probably you need to plan that way. That's the other thing which you need to keep in mind. The third aspect you need to consider which institute or university you must pursue your field of study, the field of medicine. I would say C.D. Seimer, Chandrama Dayanand Sagar Institute of Medical Education Research is one of the top quality institutions wherein it is a constituent unit of Dayanand Sagar University. Any university or institute stands out for 3 or 4 important things. One, faculty. I'm extremely happy to share with you Dayanand Sagar University, the C.D. Seimer, has the best faculty available for teaching the courses that are necessary or important for the field of study. The second, infrastructure. Infrastructure is one of the best infrastructures we can think of at this point of time. We are ahead of the times in terms of the infrastructure. I'm sure that is gives you a good ambience, a good environment for you to pursue your studies. The third aspect you need to consider is the equipment and the instrumentation, technology adoption. In CD Seimer has been working of the adoption of technology, the best quality equipment, and the instrumentation ahead of time. This is the third thing that you need to consider. The fourth one is the interdisciplinary studies. That's exactly what I mentioned in the beginning, wherein a student of every field of study needs to know about technology, needs to know about data science and other aspects. I'm sure in the course of study over here, you get little bit of the information about this, about technology, about data science, and also indicate how the data about patients is being utilized coming at coming at a decision with regard to the condition of a patient. I think that's the area where a lot of work is being done. I'm sure in the course of time you get that. All that I tell you at this point of time is, as far as your NEET exam is concerned, the tips are going to be given by the experts, but I would recommend only one thing that you need to keep in mind: be comfortable during the examination, use the common sense, then analyze the questions very, very carefully and be confident. There's no need to be panic at any point. After all, it's a examination for admission. If you answer the questions very coolly, I'm sure you'll be able to ace the examination, and no need to be worried too much, and plan it well. Right from today, plan it well and ensure that you are comfortable, and wish each one of you very best of luck in the ensuing examination. If you happen to consider then Sagar University and the CDCMR, and we'll be extremely happy. We welcome you to this university. I request the other panelists to take over and tell you more about the exact tips because they've gone through the NEET examination earlier. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for the guidance to all the students. I would now like to invite Dr. Prashant Kumar, and sir would be touching up on the topic, the pre-examination day. Over to you, sir. Sir, we are unable to hear you.
So audio is a problem. Please look at that.
Sir, audio is a problem, sir. We're not able to hear you.
Audio is not there. Audio.
Sir, could you test the audio once more?
Yes, sir, we'll do that.
Yeah, it's working,
Yeah,
sir. Working.
Yeah,
Perfect.
yeah.
Working?
Now it is coming.
Okay, sir. A very warm hi to all the audience who gathered. I would rather have my student speak first because she is fresh from a 1 year of NEET experience in the past. So she'll be first talking to you, and then I'll summarize and continue with some tips from my side. So I invite her to speak first.
Okay, good afternoon and a warm hi to everyone attending this webinar. I'm Anjali Venkat and I'm a first year MBBS student here at CDCMR. So I'll be talking to you about some tips and my experience on the pre-exam day and how to get through that. So I'll first share my experience and then I'll talk about what I think actually helped me and the things which I could have done better. So over the last 10 to 15 days before NEET, I had already set a schedule where I was sleeping early and getting up early. So I made sure I got around 7 to 8 hours of sleep before every day. So that happened even before the exam. The next thing was I was off my phone for the last 1 week before the exam. And on the last day, I had made some short notes of things which I thought I wouldn't be able to remember. I wrote all of those down, and I read all that on the last day. And the numbers and the dates and all of those measurements that we need to remember, those are the things which I read on the last day. And by night, I was pretty exhausted and I went to sleep. So now the things that actually help me, starting with sleep, is so you need to remember you're trying to get all of the information that you've learned for 2 to 3 years all on one day. So it's very important to get enough sleep and get around, if you can get 9 hours of sleep, then that's well and good. Secondly, staying off my phone, that really helped, because even now you see there are people who are constantly saying NEET should be postponed. So then it's a general tendency for students who are going to be writing the exam to keep looking up the news and seeing if there's any changes. Apart from that, there are general distractions, social media and all that. And another thing is, if you keep discussing with other people writing the exam, that might overwhelm you if you feel like they've done more than you. So I'd say from now till the exam, at least just stay off your phone and take some time for yourself and like get into the zone. And the third thing that I think really gave me an edge over many other people writing the exam was that I was very calm. Like I was not nervous. I kept myself calm, and I'm saying this because I know many people personally who had better preparation than me and were doing better than me on practice exams. But on the final day, they got too nervous and they were not able to remember things, and they made like bubbling mistakes and all that. So avoid all that. Just tell yourself everything is going to be fine and you have worked hard. So just give it your best on that day. And another thing is, don't spend time worrying about whether the question paper is going to be tough or easy, because remember, throughout India, it's going to be one question paper only. So if it's tough for you, it's tough for everybody else also. So don't worry about that. And I guarantee you, just staying calm will definitely give you a better rank than a lot of other people. So now something that I would have done differently if given a chance was that I tried to cramp up too much of information to read on that last day. And I don't think that was a good idea. And I'd say till the second last day, study your hardest. On the last day, give yourself some time to relax. And I'd say, NCRT is the Bible for NEET. So go through the NCRT textbook for biology, just flip the pages, look at the diagrams, it will help you recollect things. And for physics and for physical chemistry, you can just go through the formulas. Don't try to read any theory on the last day because you will not be able to remember. So just take some time for yourself. And yeah. And another thing I want to add is, before the exam, if possible, you or your parent go and visit the center, so that on that day, there's no problem in reaching there on time. And apart from that, keep your stationery things ready, keep your hall ticket and your ID proof and all of that, keep that ready. And I'd say also decide what you're going to be wearing, because NEET has a strict dress code and you don't want any problem on that day where they're telling you to go back home and change and all that. So keep everything ready, get enough sleep and stay calm. You're going to do very well. Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Anjali. It was beautifully put across. In fact, I agree with her totally, because as a physiologist, I need to reinforce one point. Whatever you learn through the day is consolidated into memory during your sleep. So it is the REM sleep phase during which memory is consolidated. So I would say what she said is very, very valid. You need to have a sound sleep. And additionally, I will just give you some tips as a teacher that I would feel is important. So that you also follow these as far as possible, and that will help you in keeping calm on the final day. First thing is, do not be edgy. Have a very firm mind to face the situation. There's no way one can walk away from it. So you have to do it happily. Have sufficient rest and get adequate sleep. There's no two words about adequate sleep. It is the phase when which memory is consolidated. Exercise, because there will be a lot of excess energy in you and it will be bubbling to find a way out. So the best way is to do a good 30 or 40 minute exercise on that day. And as Anjali said, pre-pack everything. Do not keep it for the last moment when you're leaving your home. So just pre-pack and keep your stationery, dress, everything ready. So this will not create any last minute teachers in going there. So don't go into a test unprepared, in other means. Be away from sensitive people. through your time, you would have met such people, whether they are friends, peers, or family. Keep away from them and keep away from any of these sensitive people, absolutely, because emotions do not play a role in our success. Try to meditate on the final day and review your notes, because through the year you would have probably made your own notes, and it wouldn't be wise to go to a book completely to read, because it will be voluminous, while your notes would have probably created a concise outlet of all of this. So try to see that you can focus on your notes. Do some breathing exercise. When I say exhale, I actually mean you should be doing some pranayama or these kind of relaxation exercises through yoga. Then, of course, the best thing would be to reward yourself. You may be fond of some ice cream or whatever that you're fond of. Just go ahead, reward yourself for the final day, because your hard work through those 3 years is now going to pay you much bigger benefits. So as well, start by rewarding yourself from your own means. Then the ideal way is to have a family hangout. No one else wishes best for us than our family. So just be with your family on the final day. They are the ones who will pep you up, and you can also see how we can actually motivate yourself, looking upon the sacrifices that your parents would have put through all these days to get you to this stage. And then one final time, take your hall ticket, read the instructions properly, and calmly analyze every instruction, so that on the day of the examination, you might not have too many glitches. I think all these 10 points would go a long way in preparing you well. Now, I also want to highlight to you, with this kind of a preparation, if at all you plan to come to CD Cymer, which is a unit of DSU, as been told by our Honorable Vice Chancellor, what is the perspective of a teacher and a student here? In what way is it different? In what way are we unique, so that we do give you some insight into it, as we have already been here? Well, Dr. Chandrama Dayanand Sagar Institute of Medical Education and Research, which we all lovingly refer to as CD Cymer, is a very smart campus. It's established across a sprawling 140 acres land with a 1,350 bed state-of-the-art hospital. It actually creates an environment that encourages creativity, stimulates innovation, and motivates scholarly pursuits. We hope that all this plays a role in revolutionizing the nature of medicine itself, and finally, this will lead to an improvement of science and society for, of course, the betterment of national and global goals. Now, I do not know whether all of you are aware of this, but in 2019, the erstwhile Medical Council of India, which is now known as the National Medical Commission, released a new curriculum which is called as Competency-Based Medical Education Curriculum. And this Dayanand Sagar University presents a perfect ambience for learning this brand new curriculum, because we start off with a clean slate. Our very first batch starts with CPME education. We do not have the corruption of the previous curriculum to rob us away from that. We offer you the opportunity to first cross a bridge from your previous school or board education to the MBBS through a very, very well-planned and well-laid out foundation course. This foundation course, which lasts for a month, we go through with a lot of emphasis on things like professionalism, altruism, self-directed learning, and we also enforce your local and English language skills, computer skills, and attitude, ethics, and communication skills. Right at the beginning, when you just joined your medicine, at the foundation course itself, we will give you training about basic life support. So on your way somewhere, if you find somebody who's been knocked down from a vehicle or somebody who's in need of a basic life support, you are enabled at the very beginning to handle this situation and give a basic life support. We also will enable you with first aid skills, all of this at a state-of-the-art facility, which has a wonderful skill lab. Now, once you've completed the foundation course and you get into the first MBBS, We will also guide you through a wonderfully aligned and integrated curriculum. It is made so seamless that you would not see any divisions between departments. In the past, the first year MBBS student would always be enclosed or encapsulated in a classroom and labs kind of a setup. But we will take you exclusively to hospitals and community health facilities, or bring the patients to the classrooms to orient you on what actually the patient needs. Because we always look at it as a perspective from the doctor, but what is exactly the need of the patient is what we all want you to be exposed right at the beginning in the first MBBS itself. And this is what we term as early clinical exposure. And I'm proud to say at CD Cymer for the very first batch, we've already done 8 such sessions, and we've brought patients to the classroom and exposed students to these cases. And it actually brings about an alignment and an integrated fashion in which students learn from teachers from different phases, different subjects. So in the first year itself, all of this early clinical exposure sessions are very well aligned in unison with the learning of the basic sciences, which are aligned in the first year, the anatomy, physiology, and biochemistry. So this makes sure that you get into the MBBS in a positive note. And our teaching modules further are, as already mentioned, give a lot of emphasis to integrating content between the various specialties which you start getting exposed to in the second year. This will reduce repetitions. And one other remarkable feature of what the new curriculum offers is that students should be exposed to short, relevant research projects, which earnestly at our institute, we are implementing it in the first year itself. In most other places, students get a glimpse of a research in the second year. But already, I'm proud to say there are 6 to 7 of our students who have taken up short relevance research projects in these past 5 months itself. And Miss Anjali, who just spoke to you, is one starting example of that. She's taken up a research project which she's already executed. On top of all this, it's not just the infrastructure, the buildings and the equipment that make a university the best, it's the people. And we have the hand-picked best in the state faculty members who are trained with medical education technology skills. We have ensured that all of the faculty who matter here are given these skills right at the beginning, so that the CBME, the competency-based medical education, is delivered to the student in a seamless, aligned, and integrated fashion. And we have planned to execute this particular aspect of the CBME curriculum called student doctor type of training. And this is already planned and put into the timetable. And the moment the first year student gets into the second year, we ensure that the student doctor type of training gets in so that they are competent enough to execute all the skills which have been aligned to be learned. All this ensures that a student will glide through this and go towards achieving the goal of being a perfect Indian medical graduate who excels as a clinical leader, a lifelong learner who has the right attitude, right ethics, and the right communication skills. So if you have plans of joining Dayanand Sagar University, whose unit is CD Cymer, the best place to be in, we welcome you with open arms. Please do join us. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Wonderful initiative and the guidance to student, as well as a complete insight on the curriculum and the advanced curriculum that has been done at CD Cymer. We would now like to invite Dr. Shilpa, and Dr. Shilpa would be touching upon the topic, which is approach towards the exam. Over to you, Dr. Shilpa.
Very good afternoon, dear students. I welcome you all for this webinar. So approach to the paper is very important because that's what you have been, aiming at, and that's what matters in the last moment. Everything about the NEET, you have studied for so many years, and you're prepared so well, and now I have to write the paper in the exam hall. So how do I attempt it? It's one thing you should remember is these question papers are not only set to test your conceptual skills, but also your smartness and your alertness. So that's how the question papers are designed. So you need to be smart, you need to be alert, and you need to concentrate 100% on the paper. So before I give my tips, I have my student here, Yukta, who has just written the paper last year, and she has scored a fantastic score and ranking, and that's why she's here. So she will be giving her first-hand experience on how she attempted the paper and some smart tips for y'all from her side. So I will be letting her do the talking first, and then I will give my inputs on how to approach the paper on the D-Day. Okay, so I welcome Yukta Hadley Devraju to give her inputs and some tips for y'all to approach the paper on the exam day.
Yeah, so good afternoon to all the students. I'm Yukta Hadley Devraju, a first year MBBS student at CD Cymer. So today I'll be discussing with you all how to approach questions in the NEET exam. These are the things which I learned post NEET, and also a few tips which I had made, which I used during my NEET exam, and which actually helped me a lot. So first and the most important thing is be calm and confident. So as long as you're calm and confident, you can avoid the silly mistakes. And the other thing is always start with the part you're comfortable with or which you think is your strength. So do not start with something you're not that well at, because at the beginning you end up losing confidence, and that's not good. So always start with your strengths. And when you first get the paper, analyze the paper for a few minutes, so you know where your strengths are and your weaknesses are. And so you can start with your strength. And also, if you're not able to answer the first 3 or 4 questions in that part which you begin the paper with, it's all right. Just go to another part and just start from there. Do not panic and don't lose confidence. So I would like to go subject-wise and give you a few tips. So I'll start off with biology. So every time you read a question in biology, make sure you underline the important points. So I think even I've made this mistake several times in my mock paper. So if in a question they might have asked us, mark the option which is not right, I would have marked the option which is right. Sometimes they would have asked to mark the option which is not the wrong answer. So these are the keywords you should underline, so you know what your answer has to be. And also another mistake all of us make is that the minute we look at the first 2 options and we think that's the answer, we end up marking it in the OMAR. That's not right. Always go through the 4 options and then come to a conclusion. So this is all about biology. And now coming to inorganic chemistry. Inorganic chemistry is almost 99% from NCERT, and this is all fact-based. So you can actually go really quick in inorganic chemistry, and you can save a lot of time from inorganic chemistry. And also one more thing, never go for wild guessing in inorganic chemistry, because they're all fact-based and everything's based on recall. And organic chemistry. In organic chemistry, make sure you read the question carefully. Are they asking you for the intermediate product or the final product or the reagent or the catalyst? And before you mark the answer, always look at the reagent or the catalyst used, because sometimes the substrates may remain the same, but the product varies depending on the reagent and the catalyst which are used in this chemical reaction. So always in organic chemistry, be very careful while marking the answer. And now coming to physics and physical chemistry. So both are mostly numericals. And in this, always keep the complex questions till the end. Try to do the questions which you're most comfortable with, and the formulas which come to you really quickly. Try to do those questions at the beginning. And in these questions, try to avoid arithmetic carelessness. And also make sure you look at the units, because in the question, they might have given, the values may be given in milliliters or milligrams, but in the options, it may be given in grams. So always make sure you look at the units before marking, because you might have gotten the answer, but because of your lack of attention, you can lose marks. And one more thing is that in physics, sometimes in a few questions, we're not able to come to a conclusion what formula to use. So in this, when this happens, you can always use the method of dimensional analysis. So all of you can go back to your first chapter in physics, which is in 11th grade. So this actually helps a lot, and you can eliminate a few options and then you can come to an answer. And also one more very important thing when it comes to numericals is that try to do all the rough work in the space provided. So do not do it where the question is given, and don't make it very messy, because if you haven't gotten the answer, you can come back to it later if your working is legible. So you don't have to again work everything from the beginning, and you can actually save time over here also. So make sure all your working is legible. And now coming to the OMR, which is very important because NEET takes the filling of the OMR very importantly. Do not mark anything in the OMR except for your details and except for the answers. And also bubble the answers correctly. And if you bubble a wrong answer, usage of whitener is not allowed, or you cannot scratch it out. So if you've bubbled an answer wrongly, it's all right. Don't panic. Just move on to the next question. And whatever happens, don't panic. Be calm, be confident. And all your 2 years of hard work depends on these 3 hours. So concentrate, don't lose focus. And I wish you all the best. And I hope all of you do well. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Yukta, for those valuable tips. Let me ask you, which paper did you attempt first?
I started with biology because I think I'm more comfortable with biology.
Okay, very good. So yeah, I think Ms. Yukta has given her experience and very valuable tips because she has written it just last year. And from my side, I would just like to summarize it. One thing, remain calm. Okay, you've heard the previous speaker also stress upon this. We are stressing upon this because we know as doctors during the exam time, even physiologically, biochemically, your hormones, stress hormones levels will be high, but you need to remain calm. If you don't know 1, 2, 3 questions at a row, don't think that you don't know the whole paper. There will be answers which you know later on in the paper. As you all know, it's all been, jumbled up. They will do a lot of jumbling, but the paper is the same throughout the country. So remain calm, and remain calm. 3 times you need to repeat, remain calm, even if you do a wrong, bubbling or something, just move on. Okay. So, and it's an OMR sheet. So don't try to mark or, do any scratches, whitener on the answer sheet. If you want to leave a question and attempt it later on, do it on the question paper. So don't mark anything on the OMR sheet. This you have to remember it, because in that hurry or in that stress, you may sometimes, have a tendency to mark something on the OMR. Please don't do that. Be very cautious. And as Yukta rightly said, start off with your strengths. Okay, whichever paper you have prepared well, you are thorough, you are interested in, start off with that paper, because you have only 3 hours. You can't afford to waste time, on things. It's not necessary you attempt the paper in that order. Start off with whichever paper you have prepared well. And as she said, she attempted with biology first because it's recall based, right? There's no applied things there. There's no calculations there. So applied things and calculations need some time. So you can attempt with the paper which you have prepared, very well. Start off with your strengths, and whichever question you think, it will take time, you just leave that and move ahead. Because what happens, you may think that it takes 10 minutes to calculate this, but actually when you're through the calculation, it may take longer time. So you just leave that question, attempt it later, put a mark on the question paper, and you can come back later. And the third thing is, don't forget, you don't have to find the answer all by yourself. The answers are already given. Okay, 4 choices will be already there. So even this especially applies to when you're calculating something. So step by step, when you're calculating, at each step, you need to remember what those 4 options are. Sometimes in, step 1 or step 2, you can get a rough clue of what, whether you're there in the right direction or whether you're going off direction, because you may be, arriving at something answer which is entirely different from that what is given. So the answers are already there. Read those answers. Don't read the question, and without reading the answers or without reading the options, don't try to solve the paper. First read the question carefully, and then read the options, and then try to attempt. The next thing is read between the lines, because sometimes what happens, the answers which are not correct in an MCQ, we call them distractors, and all distractors are attractive. Okay, so they would, some distractors would be there to confuse the students. As I already told, The paper also is designed to test the alertness and smartness of the student. Numerical values, sometimes 1, 1, 4, 4, 1, 4, 1, 4. So such answers may be there. So what happens even, in that hurry, even if you know the right answer, because of this distractors, which are, very similar to each other, you may have a tendency to mark the wrong answers. So read the options carefully and analyze them, and be aware that there could be such distractors which are very, very similar, and when you're marking, be extra careful. So I think these are some of the tips which I had to give from my side. Be calm, be alert, and always have some time at the end to revise. Okay, revise. That is the third R here. Read between the lines and revise the paper at the end, so that you have really attempted everything. You have, whatever you feel, because there is negative marking. The golden rule of guessing is not always possible here. So if you're really not sure of the answer, just for the sake of it, don't mark, because it will cost you 1 mark, isn't it? So you have to remember that also, but at least the questions which you think should be attempted. And for that, you have to, at the end, revise the paper and don't do any wild guess. Be thorough, analyze the question well, and then you attempt the answer. Okay, so having said that, I'm sure most of you all will be able to crack the NEET quite well. And if you happen to crack NEET and you select MBBS course, just as motivation for you all at this stage, I would like you to take through a small virtual tour of a medical school, taking our own Dr. Chandrama Dayanand Sagar Institute of Medical Education and Research, that is CD Cymer, as an example. So we will just have a virtual tour of how this medical school looks like, and then we will wind up. Okay, so Mr. Shinde, can I have my slides?
Yeah, 1 second, please. Yeah, here you are.
Yeah, so this is the medical school we have. Next slide, please. Yeah, so this is the academic block. I think Dr. Prashant has already emphasized on how big the campus is. So you're seeing this virtually right now. As you can see, it's a beautiful campus. Next slide, please. And this is the hospital block. We have the academic block and hospital block separate, and many more blocks coming up in the years to come. Next slide, please. This is the anatomy dissection hall. Okay, you can see how well equipped it is. It is beautifully set, and the space is enormous, so that each and every student can actually try on the dissection and have hands-on experience with the bodies. Next slide, please. This is the anatomy museum, a very, very well designed state-of-the-art anatomy museum you have for all the conceptual learning in anatomy. So you can visit the museum anytime through your course and get a glimpse of it. Next slide, please. Yeah, this is the physiology lab. And again, it is well equipped with all the equipments. Yes, next slide, please. This is the biochemistry lab. This physiology, anatomy, and biochemistry you will be studying in the first year. So these are all located in the college building. Next slide. This is the central diagnostics lab in the hospital. We have a futuristic technology here, all our state-of-the-art equipments. Next slide, please. And this is the clinical biochemistry lab in the hospital. We are already analyzing close to around 9,000 sample tests per month. So next slide, please. Yeah, this is the molecular lab. We already have a molecular lab where we do the PCR testing and all the molecular testing in our institute. Next slide. Next slide, please. Yeah, this is the radiology department. Next slide, please. Yes, this is the ultrasound and the CT scan machines we have fully equipped in the radiology department. Next slide. This is the ICU facility in our institute. Next slide, please. dialysis center, dialysis wing. So you can see we already have these super specialty courses in our college or in the hospital. This is the post-operative ward. Next slide. And this is the OT complex. Most of you all might not have visited the OT complex or OT operation theater in your lives. When you come to our course, when you come to MBBS course, we'll make sure that in the first year itself, at least you have the glimpse in the first 1 month of all these facilities. Next slide, please. Yeah, this is the whole OT complex. Next slide. And this is the lecture gallery, okay, lecture hall. You can see we have all the audiovisual aids of recent technological advances incorporated in our lecture gallery, and we'll make sure that each and every student gets the best quality education here. So this is just as a, this is a well stocked up library facility we have in our institute. Next slide, please. Yeah, we can see the amount of books and journals we have stocked up in our library, and our students do visit the library very regularly and often. Next slide, please. Yeah, and this is the digital library. We have access to most of the databases to encourage research and advanced learning. Next slide, please. This is the gym facility which we have in the hostel. So we are also, conscious about your health. So we have a gym facility in the hostel. Next slide, please. Yeah, this is another picture of the gym facility, and this is the hostel block. A very beautifully designed, very comfortable hostel block is there. So for the students who wish to stay in the hostel, it would be an add-on feature. So, and dear students, this was just a motivation for y'all, to do well in the exam, to be calm and, to take the bull by its horn and just crack the NEET very well so that you can get admission to your favorite medical school. And I wish you all the best for the exam and pray God each one of you might succeed in whatever you wish for. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Shilpa. It was a great amount of ideation as well as thoughts shared with this, with the aspirants of the NEET exam. Thank you so much. I would now like to invite Dr. Aishwarya, and she would touch upon the topic of time management. And we'll also have a student who would be sharing, Mishreya, who would be sharing the experience of us. Over to you, Dr. Aishwarya.
Thank you. I hope I'm audible.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So good evening, everybody. So me and Shreya here, we're here to talk to you about time management in your exam. So now that you're really close to your exams, you have another 3 days left for your exams. What is important is that you utilize your time in the exam. So you have a 3-hour paper. Utilize your time in the exam properly so that you do not make any mistakes, and you can the maximum marks that are possible to be scored, you can score in this time. So here, first Shreya will talk to you about her experience, and she'll give you some pearls and tips on what exactly to do in the paper. And then I'll take over and explain.
So hi everyone. So I think I need to stress upon the exam pattern before I can tell you how to manage the time. Can we share the slides, please?
Do you want me to share the PPT, Dr. Aishwarya, that you had shown to me?
Yes.
Yeah, I can put it up if you want. Do you want me to do it?
Just give us a second. It's on the system.
Do you want me to share it up? Oh, okay.
No, we got it.
Done.
As you can all see, it's an offline paper. And there are 45 questions from physics, 45 questions from chemistry, and
It's not yet
90.
come. The PPT has not yet come.
I think it's there now.
No, we are still able to see the entire files, but not the PPT.
Second slide.
You can stop the screen sharing and you can do it again.
So in the meantime, Shreya will be talking to you about the exam pattern.
Okay, so as you all know, there are 45 questions in physics, 45 questions in chemistry, and 90 questions in biology. As Yukta said, start with the section that you're most comfortable in. Now, I know that there has been a change in paper pattern from NEET 2020 to NEET 2021, but essentially it's the same. So in your paper, you will have section A, which comprises of 35 questions, which are compulsory to be attempted, and 15 questions out of which you'll have to attempt only 10. This continues for physics, chemistry, botany, and zoology. And my biggest worry is that people will spend a lot of time in choosing which questions out of the 15 to be attempted. I would strongly recommend that you just glance the questions once, decide which questions you want to attempt, and just finish it off. Do not spend a lot of time worrying in which 10 out of the 15 questions you want to attempt. And I would like to share on what I did during my exam. So I started with biology and I completed the biology section in under 40 minutes. And I spent the next 1 hour in chemistry, and the remaining time was for physics. Now, biology is a subject where you either know the answer or you don't know the answer. Do not try to make wild guesses. Do not try to think of an answer. Just see it, know the answer, mark it. Otherwise, just leave it and go for it and go to the next question. You can return it. You can return to it later once the paper has been completed. Similarly, inorganic chemistry is also recall based, so the same principle holds good. And physics and physical chemistry have calculations. So if you read a question and you feel like there's a lot of calculations involved, please leave it and come back to it in the last. Now, coming to OMR sheet filling, I was the person that filled the OMR sheet simultaneously. I saw the question, I noted the answer, and I marked the same in my OMR sheet. However, if you are the person that has been filling the OMR sheet towards the end, please continue with that. You have only 2 days remaining for the exam. Do not try to make any changes in the style in which you attempt the question paper. And one more thing is, in my center, I didn't get 3 complete hours to attempt the paper. So I didn't have 180 minutes for 180 questions. They gave us the OMR sheet as well as the question paper together. So I had to spend 10 minutes of my writing time in filling up the OMR sheet and the details in the paper. So my suggestion is, if that happens to you, firstly, do not panic, be calm. I know that it might not be fair because it doesn't happen in all the centers. But the thing to remember is that if you make any mistake in filling your details on the OMR sheet, your paper will not be evaluated. So that is undeniably the most important part of the paper. So be calm, tell yourself that you know enough and you will manage your time later on, and just fill in the details very, very carefully. And okay, and these are some of the tips that I would like to give from my end of what you have to do in the last 2-3 days remaining. I think you can solve the NEET 2019 and 2020 papers. They both were pretty straightforward, and it will play a very huge role in boosting your confidence. Make sure you time it and solve it. And just to satisfy yourself, you can read the biology NCRTs once or twice. If you have made any formulae for physics, or you can find them online, read the formulae for physics and chemistry, and you can revise all the organic chemistry reactions. So please don't make any negative, try not to make many negative markings. That's my only suggestion. And be careful when you're bubbling. Do not bubble what is not the correct answer.
All right, so that is those are Shreya's tips for all of you. What I would like to just emphasize on, or rather summarize on what she said, is see, when you get the paper, just spend the first, say, a minute or so just scanning through the entire paper. Now, as you know, it's subject wise. Your questions are going to be group subject wise. So it's not that you're going to have easy questions towards the beginning of the paper and difficult questions towards the end of the paper. Just spend a minute scanning, and start answering the easy questions first, which do not require any thinking. It just recall. You know the answer right away, mark it right away. And as you mark it, there's something, I think this is a concept that everybody knows. You have something called tick, circle, and cross. So if you have answered a question, tick it in the question paper, so that the next time you come, you're going through the question paper a second time. You don't have to spend time reading the question again to see if you have answered it or not. So you just tick it if you have answered, so that when you're looking at it the second time, you know you have answered this question. I don't have to read it again. If you have doubt regarding another question, say you think this requires some calculation, I need to come back to it, then circle it and leave it there. So when you come the second time, pick the questions where you have circled, so you know you have to attempt these next. And you cross out the questions which you have absolutely no idea about. So these you keep for the very end of the paper. If you have some time, you come back and look at it. So the first time you go through the questions from the beginning to the end, answer all your easy questions. The second time you come back, you've ticked all the questions you have answered, so you don't have to look at those questions again. Pick the circle questions, spend some time answering those questions. Finally, if you have some time left, come back and look at the questions that you've crossed. And if you're able to answer them, please do. If you have some vague idea regarding the options, then you can answer it and take a risk regarding it. Now, what we should remember when you're answering a paper is that every question carries equal weightage. So just because a question is easy doesn't mean that it carries less marks. So you're saving time. So answer all your easy questions first. Leave the calculations later. Even if you've spent 10 minutes on a question calculating the answer, you're going to get the same marks. So please answer the easy questions first. And one more thing I would like to add is that suppose there is a question that requires some amount of processing. You read the question, you process a lot of information. So you're spending about, say, 3 to 4 minutes just trying to process the question. And then you look at the options and you decide to leave that question and go to the next one. What would be advisable is you've already spent 3 to 5 minutes looking at the question and trying to understand it. Try to solve it then and there, because you come back again to that question, you're again going to spend the same 3 to 5 minutes trying to analyze the question again. So that you're going to lose some time there. So if you have put in time into the question, try to finish it. If there is a vague possibility that you do know the answer. And for every MCQ, it is formed in such a way that there are some distractors. Try to find the distractors in the options, eliminate them, so you have a couple of options to choose from. Also, like I said, what Shreya told you about is the OMR marking. So different people have different ways of marking the answers. Some people do it at the same time they solve the question, they mark the OMR. There are people who solve one section first and then they come and mark the OMR answers to that. And there are people who do it at the very extreme end of the answering session. Now, if you're planning to keep your OMR marking for the extreme end, make sure you have kept aside time for it, because it shouldn't be that you know the answers and finally you don't have time to mark them. But whatever you have practiced in your mock papers, please do that because you're comfortable with it. Do not change anything in the last minute, but make sure you take these pearls back, because these are the ones that will make it or break it for you. So I hope what tips we have given you will definitely help you. And like she said, the last couple of days, just revise through your formulae. You might have some notes, tables made. So just look through all that. So that would be a quick memory jog for you rather than reading through entire textbooks and spending a lot of time there. And I think all of you know how to calculate your NEET score total, because for each correct answer, you're given 4 marks. And for an incorrect answer, you've deducted a single mark. And there's no positive or negative marking for questions that are not attempted. So your final NEET score is going to be the number of correct answers you've given into 4 minus the number of incorrect answers into 1. So if you know your score, you can approximately predict your rank and you can start preparing. Now, I'm from the Department of ENT. So I'd just like to give you a brief idea on what happens when you come into your MBBS curriculum and what to expect from the clinical side. Now, you go through your basics in your pre and paraclinical subjects in your MBBS curriculum, and then you come into the clinical side. Now, as Dr. Prashant explained to you, the curriculum has changed, and now you have something called early clinical exposure that starts off in your first year itself. You are exposed to the hospital setting. What happens in a hospital, you learn very early on compared to the older syllabus. Now, once you come into the clinical side, what happens is, see, in our hospital, the student doctor ratio is very low. So you have the number of students attached to a doctor is very low. So it's almost a one-on-one teaching that happens. And also the patient-student ratio is very high. You know, the area in which our hospital is located is such a way that there are no major hospitals around here. So we get quite a huge patient load here. We see a variety of cases. So what happens is the experience is rich. You get to learn quite a few things from, get to see a variety of patients and get to see a lot. Now, there is small group teaching that happens, case-based learning. So you're given a case, there are very few students with one patient, the doctor teaches you what you need to know. You will be able to ask your questions, clarify your doubts. And also there's something called skills lab that is there in our setup, where you learn a lot of clinical skills which you might not be able to initially practice on a patient. You will gather your skills, you learn your skills in a skills lab before you're finally allowed to perform it on a patient. So these are advantages that were not previously available. All of us, when we came through our early learning phases and we came into this, we did not have the luxury of having skills lab, or there were many students attached to one doctor, many students examining one patient. So that's not the case anymore. And there's lots to look forward to and lots to learn from. So wishing you all the very best. And I hope you get through this without any tension, and you'll come through this, and we'll hope to see you here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Aishwarya.
Thank you.
So here is it. With this, we come to the end of the session. I'm sure from the three experienced and most senior faculties at CD Cymer, as well as the first year students coming and sharing their feedback with us, is something which is very, very valuable. And it's all to the current context in terms of all the students who are currently looking at the NEET exams happening on this Sunday. So we like to wish all the students our very best in terms of your preparation, your openness to the exam, your confidence to the exam. And once your NEET examinations are over, we would like to take the opportunity of inviting students for the open day, which we will be doing on every weekend before your examination results are out. And we will be sending across emails and certain messages across to you, where there will be a registration forms. And if you would like to come and see the CD Cymer facility, the hospital, the entire med school of the Anand Sagar University, we would be happy to do it. We will be having 2 slots in a day, one in the morning, one in the second half. The details of it will be available through an email. And we could take you around, show you the med school, show you all the facilities, so that you are up to date in terms of how to choose a state-of-the-art, high technology-oriented med school for your career. So with this, we come to the end of the session. In case if you have any queries, please log into our website, and there's an email ID on which you could write back to us, and we will be happy to get back to you and answer the queries that you have. So thank you so much. Stay safe, and all the best to all the students who are appearing for the NEET exams. May you do well, and may you succeed in your life. Big thanks to all the speakers. Thank you for your time and the guidance given to all the students. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes.